Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the GCNC Worldview podcast. I'm your host, Chris Day, co-founder of Project Evolve and the Global Cannabis Network Collective, and welcome to 2025. I know we're already halfway through the month of January, but this is actually our first episode of 25 that we're recording, and it's going to be a crazy busy year in the international cannabis markets. We've been talking to members in Australia and South America and Europe, and there's all kinds of movement in all of these different markets. Still challenging, of course. We know in the United States that rescheduling hearings were just delayed. No super shock there. So all of us are just working to figure out where are the best opportunities? How do we navigate the international markets? How do we create partnerships that make sense and move us forward? And I'm excited to bring Olivia Ewenike. Can you say that for me again, Olivia?
Yes, Ewenike.
Thank you. And Ewenike Law Firm, the co-founder, or rather founder of Cannabis Law Academy, out of Germany. And Olivia, we haven't talked about Germany on the podcast in over a year. I mentioned that to you before we came on. And part of that has been because really lots of people talk about it, but I didn't feel like we had a fresh perspective. We didn't have a lot of new movement that we could talk about, but I feel like we do now. And I feel like your perspective brings some new points and new thoughts that people can use as they think about how they look at the German market and in Europe overall. So thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know the beginning of the year is always super busy as people come in.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, we both got a chance to meet in person at the end of last year in MJ Biz. That was a huge pleasure, and I'm glad we're able to now follow up here. But you got a chance to speak at MJ BizCon and talk to a lot of people. I was wondering, like, what were the hot topics for you? What did people seem most interested in while you were there?
So I think in order to answer that adequately, maybe I have to say a little bit about what I do actually.
Yeah, I was going
To
to shift into that, but we can certainly do that in whatever order you want.
I think yes, it makes sense now already. So what we try to do in Germany here is we try to establish an online platform for cannabis clubs that has all of the legal content they would need to build and run their business, to build and run their cannabis club. And that means we use easy language, we use video content, automatic documentation generation tool, weekly strategy calls, all of these things. This is called the Cannabis Law Academy. So it is an academy, it has an educational approach, and for that it is scalable for us, of course, and also for the cannabis clubs in the end, because they really get all of the legal knowledge they would need, not only cannabis law, but compliance or contractual law or labor law, whatever. You name it, we have it. And for us, it is very important to cooperate with experts in their specific fields and areas. For example, software providers, other legal experts that have certain knowledge about their specific area or branch that they're working in. And we try to find those globally that fit our approach. So that means they also have maybe an educational approach or are willing to have that for the cannabis clubs. And it's not like an advertisement platform, but they use the platform to education. So MJBiz for us was, of course, paradise, because there were so many companies and possible business partners that already were developed, which is very different to what we face here in Germany, because before we only had medicinal since 2017, and now with 2024, it was like a two-step legalization. First, the decriminalization, which brings no business, and then at least not for the legal market. And then from July, since July 1st, the cannabis clubs are allowed to apply for licenses. So this is where it got interesting for companies internationally, and we saw a lot of them coming to Germany or to the European conferences. But who to choose? And also, we don't know what else is out there. So this is why we came to MJBiz, to have a further look and then introduce those businesses to our cannabis clubs, because we have a close community. We've been there from the beginning. They trust us with whoever we bring to them. And that means that we want to have a choice. We want to choose. Competition is always healthy. So this is then what we were talking to the potential business partners in Vegas, asked about their background, about their approach, about their purpose, and also if they would be interested, of course, in entering the German market. And it was we had really different reactions. It was very interesting. Again, like it is always that way from my point of view. When you travel, you become a little bit more modest, because you see how small and irrelevant you are. This also counts for Germany, of course. And so we saw the big industry that already exists abroad, and all of the companies that actually are there, which are not represented in Europe or in Germany specifically. And maybe also talk to them about our market, our potential, because there are a lot of myths about the German legalization, that it's not profitable, that you're not able to gain a foothold there because of overregulation and stuff like that. So yes, we try to be the middleman, tell businesses abroad about what the legalization actually means in Germany, the provisions, the possibilities. And then on the other hand, also tell them what we think is necessary for businesses to bring to the table when you want to enter the German market, at least for us.
Yeah, that your mission and our mission at the GCNC is not dissimilar, right? It's all about how do we connect international partners to help build ecosystems. It was great to see you at our event in
Oh,
Las
it was
Vegas.
awesome. It was really great.
Thank you. But that's because like those folks that were there, including yourself, are all trying to do that same thing. And the opportunity to break down barriers and misunderstandings and have those conversations face to face are always hugely beneficial. I was talking to one of our members just this week about the German market, and from her perspective, she said some of the perceived myths that you just mentioned actually helped her because it kept competition out. And that's not your objective, of course, but her already having a business in Germany and working there, she didn't mind some people taking their time getting in. So I told her that my job was to make sure things moved as quickly as possible. So we were a little bit counter on the goals there, but nonetheless, it's fun to be able to bring people together and have these conversations. So for those who don't know, because a lot of people read headlines, but then the details of what happens get lost. What are the processes at a high level that some of these lounges have to go through to be compliant, to be able to operate? And How are they feeding customers into these lounges so that they can be profitable?
Okay, so it's a little bit complicated. So far, the myths are true. In Germany, we have a system. It's organized over cannabis clubs. These are cultivation associations. So, in all of these cannabis clubs, this is very important. They are non-profitable and they're not really social clubs because the social part is missing. It's not allowed to consume cannabis in the club or in like an environment 100 meters around that club. So that means the cannabis clubs are more or less dispensaries where you can go and pick up your cannabis, and it's cultivated by members of the clubs. The club is allowed to have up to 500 members, and each member is allowed to collect up to 50 grams a month from that club. So we're talking about maximum of 300 kilos of cannabis, and it's hash or marijuana, nothing else. No tobacco, no food. It's really only this in this raw, nothing else. So because of EU regulations, the German legislator said these clubs have to be non-profitable. Now, as you can imagine, if you build like a facility and do all of the work that needs to be done to actually cultivate cannabis, this is not an activity you would do non-profit. At least not in a large scale, like for 500 members and 300 kilos. Maybe if it's 5 friends cultivating a little bit cannabis for personal use, that would be something else. But when it comes to 500 members and 300 kilos, it needs to be a little bit more professional. So, of course, also that means it will cost money. And if it's non-profit, that basically makes no sense. So we tried to figure out a way to make this market still profitable, even though the cultivation associations stay non-profit. There's no walk around or no zigzagging in this regard. This is very strict. But of course, there are service providers that are very necessary for cannabis clubs, such as software providers, leasing, transportation, security, wherever is needed. So you can build a company, or if you already have one, even better, and provide the services to the clubs. And that can be profitable. That is just a regular business like every other business, and has no profit cap or anything like that, of course. So we now try to introduce like I said, experts from abroad or from Germany to the clubs, but also help the clubs to establish structures around the clubs. So, for example, if you found a club and you're a founder, and you may also have founded a company for leasing or for transportation or security, this is how you can actually collect the money out of the club. Because you have a profitable business next to the cannabis clubs. Of course, the work has to be divided for the club on the one side, and then for your profitable business on the other side. And there are also very strict provisions around what you can earn, for example, if you touch the plant and stuff like this. So
this is
yes.
very similar to, I mean, I've seen people do similar models to navigate around 280E in the United States, right? The motivation is slightly different because the regulations are different, but it's a similar deal. The plant touching businesses are mistreated. I can say that. You can have your own opinion, but I see this as similar. Like the clubs themselves have been given a no-win scenario, but we figure out ways to win around it, right? And make sure that people can put food on their table for actually working in this industry, right?
I think this is the most important part, because if the goal of the legislator is to fight back organized crime, they want good quality cannabis for health reasons, they want to secure the youth and stuff like this. If you really have all of these goals, make it a profitable business, let people earn money. This is capitalism. Welcome. So people need food on their tables, people need a little bit of motivation, and it's very, very important in this field, especially when it comes to health and the quality of the cannabis, that it's professional cultivation. And for professional cultivation, for the equipment, for the knowledge, you need to invest, you need some money for that. So this is why we said, okay, let's first of all, with the Cannabis Law Academy, found a company and give them a portal, a platform where they have knowledge and updated information constantly. It's like a membership, like a close community where they can advise each other, and weekly strategy calls, like I said, with experts from different fields of the industry, not only legal experts, also cultivation experts, etc. And it's all covered by that membership fee. So it's just a first investment, and then you have all of the knowledge you need. That's the first step. And then second, now we try to connect them to further experts from the industry that we think are also where it's not only about the money, they really add some value for our clubs. Also easy accessible, easy understandable. And then, of course, it's on them to find solutions for the first investment, for the equipment and everything like this. But it's something completely else than hiring 10 lawyers, hiring someone for the cultivation, etc. We really tried to give them professional input to make it a professional business, and also for people that may not have the big money to be able to start a cannabis club and start a cannabis business here in Germany, because otherwise it would have only been like the big companies having all of their employees founding clubs, not a real club structure, not a real competition, and not the adult use market that I want to see in this country.
Yeah, I love the model, and I love how you're productively helping the industry to grow and helping people think through these challenges. I have oftentimes challenges with the cannabis industry, because I tell people, especially in emerging markets, oftentimes the only people making any money is the lawyers. And in this case, like you're proactively helping folks from a lot of different economic backgrounds and positions be able to be successful. So kudos to you, Olivia, for doing that, because it's rare. And it's part of the reason I wanted you to come on and talk about the situation, because I really do think that kind of effort and support for the industry is what it needs to survive long term. And so I love your model, and I'm glad you're doing it.
Also, we're not very popular under the other lawyers because of that.
Yeah, but I believe it will come.
Yes,
And there's also an opportunity for continuing to build those relationships, and doing well by doing good should always, in my opinion, be at the heart of business. So I love that. Shifting a little bit into sort of what we think future state might look like. Obviously, it continues to be a stair-step approach in most markets. Tends to be somewhat predictable what those stair steps will be, but each country tends to have a different approach to getting there. This doesn't seem, the club model that exists today, to me, doesn't seem sustainable long term if you have the types of goals that the politicians claim they have, right? So what's your level of optimism that regulations will continue to evolve in ways that can help clubs and other potential pathways for adult use to grow in Germany. Do you have any, like, sort of where's your head at with that?
I'm very optimistic. I think that right now in Germany, even though it might not seem like it, if you just look at the results of what is happening, it's actually the perfect timing and also the perfect timeline, because now with the clubs that, like I said, we're able to apply for licenses this July. We had the summer break, we had problems with the competent state authorities having the necessary procedures and competent people in place and stuff like that, procedural stuff and administrative problems and issues. We had the most applications end of last year, October, November, December. And then December, it already went back a little bit because of the political tensions that we're currently facing. Now with Pillar 2, for example, Pillar 2 was also something that the current government or ex-government proposed, would be in model regions licensed cannabis shops to distribute cannabis, so with a profitable approach, but of course evaluated, etc. So I think if we had that right, or an according law draft for that end of last year, the cannabis clubs would have never had a chance to actually evolve. Because if there is a licensed shop, I think a lot of consumers, especially those that just want to try or are maybe not regular consumers, would rather go to a licensed shop than a cannabis club. But I think that the cannabis clubs are very important, first of all, to develop a cannabis culture in Germany, because we have none, really. The illicit market that was here, that was like a really bad market. It was not very well developed. There was no culture. The quality is and was very, very bad. So now we see that stigmatization goes a little bit back. I see also people smoking cannabis or consuming cannabis here that definitely didn't do that before, and they are now trying and changing their consumption habits, maybe rethink the consumption of alcohol and stuff like that. This is all happening with the clubs, providing them then slowly cannabis, and in a club environment where you are a member, part of a community, means that it really develops a cannabis culture here, and clubs actually do have a chance also to survive later on, even after Pillar 2, if they're already established, if they already have members, if they already have a community, and if they already have some revenue. Even though they are non-profitable, after maybe 1 or 2 harvests, we're talking about 500 to 1 million of revenue. This is a lot. We're talking also about taxes that can be collected. We're talking about employment. And for that, cannabis clubs are low-hanging fruits to enter the cannabis market, the industry, and we should definitely take those. Also a good way to push back organized crime, because it's so easy to be in a club and a local one, and the people there, and they are maybe in the best way also your friends. I would always rather go there and support them with money and work maybe than organized crime. So then now, after the re-elections, February, the new government will have to sort things out, like write also a coalition contract and things like this. And I think this will be the right time, maybe summer next year, I think June, July, maybe something like this, to talk about Pillar 2 again. And I can talk about the whole political background maybe later, but to make this a little bit shorter, So when we will talk about then a new draft and Pillar 2 and licensed shops, the cannabis clubs will already be there. We now have, I think, around 80, 90 clubs that already have a license that are starting to cultivate right now. So this, and till then, maybe another 100 or 200. This will be a fair amount to then evaluate how's it going, are they compliant, what is the quality, what is the cases about criminal offenses and cannabis-related cases, stuff like this. Did that go back? Organized crime. And then we have licensed shops besides. But then the clubs already have the structure. They're already a running system, and they're already recognized in the society. I think this is, like I said, yes, and it will also not be possible for everyone to open a licensed shop. And this is, again, I think something rather for the big players than the small ones. And with the cannabis clubs, basically, almost everyone is able to build and run a cannabis clubs. Of course, they will need some investment, but I hope that in the following years also maybe banks will, borrow some, lend some money to the people, and
That's
that
an
we can
ongoing
also
discussion. That I was just going to
yes,
say on the banks, that's an ongoing discussion in almost every market.
every
So
yes,
I
uh,
I am so frustrated with bankers. They're
yes,
cowards for the most part. So
yeah,
if you're a
fortunately,
banker listening to this podcast and you don't want to be a coward and you want to support a growing and wonderful industry, reach out because we're all looking for you. So that's my little
yes. We
sidebar
need
on
some loans.
banking.
Yes,
So yeah.
definitely. And that is, like I said, next year this are already clubs with a lot of revenue, and if you then also have the licensed shops, maybe this will be a time where banks would talk to us. It's a little bit different than to the US. It shouldn't be that hard because we have a federal law,
Yeah,
and there's no adequate reason for them to deny loans for cannabis clubs.
correct.
That's
As long as
basically
you have good leadership, solid business operating
yes,
procedures, and
because it's completely legal.
yeah,
So yeah,
and great professional support like the Cannabis Law Academy. Like, right? So if you can operate those businesses, maybe we can get them to say that one of the criteria is making sure
yes.
that they have support like yours in operations. That would be great. So,
I mean, that would
um,
be great for us, but maybe a little bit too restrictive for them.
well, we'll let competition come in. As you said, it's always healthy. Yeah, I I appreciate your perspective actually on the club situation because I have talked to a number of people who just feel like that's a dead end.
Mm.
Um, but hearing your description as a pathway to help expand the culture, build the opportunity as an iterative step towards that next phase with Pillar 2 makes a lot of sense to me. Like I can track with that and understand it. I'll be back in Germany in April
Yes.
for quite a while, and I'm headed to Switzerland next month to see what's going on there. And of course, I mentioned before we got on, I just came from the UK, and I look at all of these different markets in the EU and adjacent to the EU with the UK, and I see so much potential and so much growth, and it makes me excited. Quite frankly, I love being able to work with companies in those markets because it is not only a monetary opportunity, but it's a great opportunity to create at federal levels legal structures and
Yeah.
places to really push out black market activity and sort of fulfill, I think, what the goal of the plant is, which is to help people. So I love that.
Yes, I absolutely agree, and I think when it comes to black just add this thought because I also mentioned it a couple of times here in this call, but I'm actually very disturbed by that argument all the time, because I think we have to differentiate between black market and organized crime. From my point of view, the illicit market also deserves a place on the table. At least they were the ones that provided us with cannabis when the state was still under prohibition mindset. So, as a criminal defense lawyer, I started as this. I know some of them, and I know also the structures behind this. And this basically, from my point of view, if you leave out the whole prohibition propaganda that is brought to us because of politics, they were cultivating good quality cannabis before as well. Some of them did a really good job, and now I'm very happy that they have the opportunity to become growers here in some of the cultivation associations and an entry. But of course, it's not the same because it's not a profitable business. But at least I think with the cannabis clubs, also this kind of black market has now a chance to pivot and also become legal, and also earn some money, like I said, with the profitable structures around the club, which is very important, and they do deserve it, because from my point of view, the only criminal offense that I can think of they may have done is tax evasion. But drug trafficking, cannabis is not a drug. And this law should have not existed. The prohibition should have not existed in the first place. So it is also time to give them a business opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to end with this. When we were at Las Vegas and our C-Suite Connector event this year that you were at, the reason we do it in a theater in the Arts District is because it gives us an opportunity to highlight stories that really talk to the issue you just addressed. Yeah, we've got some that are really about the future state, and that's great, but a lot of what the films that we champion are ones that talk to the legacy market, the situations that existed there, and why we both need to have respect for that as we move forward, as well as oftentimes honor those people who really have carried the plant and this industry through a very dark and misguided time.
Yes,
and
exactly.
we all have a responsibility, if we're operating within this sector in whatever country or part of the world we're in, to keep that in mind and to try to do things the right way. And I feel like, Olivia, you're doing that. So
Thank you.
I'm really happy that you were able to join us today, and I look forward to speaking more. We should have you back on later this summer as things continue to evolve, and get an update and continue this conversation. So thanks so much. And thanks everybody for listening to the GCNC Worldview. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do hit all the buttons. And you can always find us on all the socials and LinkedIn. We're not hard to find. If there's any questions or follow-ups that pique your interest out of our episodes. So thanks everyone. Until next time, and Happy New Year.